Hello, welcome to Slick Willy Fly, and today what we're going to do is a Slick Willy Charlie. It's a special Charlie. I got one in the vise here. I got one that I made already. I've been making a bunch of them. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to say, that's not a crazy Charlie, and I agree. This is a cross between a Clouser, a Charlie, a Gotcha, and probably 5 other flies. But it's a fishy fly. It gets bites and it's an awesome fly, and I don't really have a name for it. So we've always gone with Special Charlie. So let's tie one up. So I made a separate video where I was making bodies. I've made a bunch of these, and now I've been tying flies. And I'm not really sure if I'm going to call this part 1 and the bodies part 2 or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. So it's a size 2 saltwater hook that I made this body on, and let's go ahead and tie a fly. I'm going to start my thread. In this particular fly, I'm not going with the same color scheme. So I'm using a little bit more of a, it's like between a brown and an orange. It's a UTC 100 denier in burnt orange, I think is what it's called. Pretty sure anyway. And I maybe need a new razor blade. That did not cut good. Alright, anyway. So the first thing I'm going to do, I like to put a little base of brown. And, or in the browns anyway. Tans, browns, anything in that area. And it will determine the overall length of the fly. Doesn't have to be super long, and I definitely don't want it to be thick. I like for it to be sparse. In this fly we're going to use a little bit of flash. We're going to use a little bit of rubber legs. It's a cool fly. So like all my, anytime I use deer hair, we're using bucktail. I'm going to go ahead and pull out all the shorts. And the way you do it, you basically you pinch your bucktail and you start pulling out, and everything from that pinch point to the right here is going to come out. And you thin out all that loose stuff. And then I take away all the super long. You can just pull them out and restack if you need. But that's about what I want. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to measure my length. And if it was a Charlie, it would be super short. So I'm not really making a real Charlie. I'm going to go a little bit longer. That's about the length that I want right there. I don't want super long. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this. And now I'm going to use a little bit of a technique that I use when I make streamers, where I'm going to take a wrap around the bucktail. Now it's a loose wrap, and I'm going to bring it around the hook. And I'm just going to draw it back to where it's not in the eye of the hook. And now I can crank that down. And I'm actually going to put one wrap behind this bucktail. So I want it to stick up just like that. Perfect. So my next step is I'm going to take a little bit of Flashabou Mirage Opal. I'm torn if I want 1 or 2 strands. I'm going to use 2 strands. I'm going to fold this in half. Then I'm going to find the center point of that. I'm going to put it on the thread. Now I know this is going to be too long, but it's easy to trim. I'm going to go ahead and put that right on dead center on top. And now I'm going to just divide my Flashabou to either side, just like that, and lock that in. Beautiful. Love it. And I can go ahead and open that loop. It doesn't really matter. we can open these loops. All right. So the next material that's going to go on is my rubber legs. And for this particular fly, I'm using these, it's a pumpkin with gold flake. And I love these rubber legs. Again, same technique. Put them on the thread at about the center point. Lock them in, one to each side, and lock those in. Perfect. Love it. All right. So now it's time for my last material, which is a little bit of this salmon pink orange bucktail. And again, I don't need a lot. Same technique. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pinch it. And then I'm just going to pull out everything that's to the right side of where I'm pinched. Because all of that is just going to be fluff. Then I could take the longer hairs, pull them out, and restack. Perfect. So my length is going to be just slightly longer than the brown. That's all I'm looking for. And I'm going to pinch and I'm going to trim. And I'm going to use the exact same technique. Once just around, got a rubber leg in the way, excuse me. Once just around the bucktail, then around the bucktail and the hook. Now I've already trimmed the length, so I know the length is good. So I'm just going to pull this bucktail to where it's cleared the eye of the hook. And once I have that, I can lock it nice and hard, making sure that it stays right on top. Now I realize this head got a little big because we have so much material on there. And just singe off a little bit of stuff here. Gotta be careful when you do that. Had a few little fibers going the wrong way. But I want to put a weed guard. So for weed guard, I got a piece of hard mono. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little flat spot in it. And I'm going to fold it up, giving it a little bend right at the flat spot. And even though I've got quite a bit of a head on here already, I think it's worth to put the weed guard on. Right, go ahead and tie in that flat spot right on top. Just like that. And now it's a whip finish. And this fly is done. The only thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of UV resin. And then of course I'm going to trim the rubber legs and possibly the Flashabou. We'll check all that in a second. Let's do the UV resin first. I just want to get everything out of the way. So for UV resin, I'm going to use just a regular original consistency. I'm not using thin, I'm not using thick. This is just the original normal consistency. And this is just a super light coat on the fly, on the head here. This just makes the fly really kind of bulletproof. That came out perfect. Beautiful. Just gonna spin the fly a little. Making sure everything is where I want it. Trying to make sure that the eye of the hook doesn't have any UV resin, which it doesn't. There's a couple of wild fibers in there. That's okay. And that's the fly. This is a great fly. This is gonna get a lot of bites. You know, in the water, the rubber legs want to float. So even if I'm not really moving the fly too much, if there's any current or anything, the rubber legs are gonna flutter a bit, which I think is awesome. But you see the rubber legs are a little bit too long right now. So what's the length I'm looking for? Well, the length I'm looking for is about the length of the deer hair. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these just like that. And a couple of Flashabou that are a little long, but those actually aren't too long. I think that came out good actually. Maybe a little bit of Flashabou, a little too long on this side. So yeah, so this is the Special Charlie, for lack of a better word. I mean, it's a cross, I get it. It's not really a gotcha, it's not really a Charlie. It's definitely not a Clouser. It's kind of like it's a cross of all of them, really. Oh, I gotta trim that weed guard. So the weed guard I'm gonna trim about 1/8 of an inch longer than the hook. And I usually trim it a little bit long, and then I can always trim it a little bit more once I'm out on the water. But yeah, there it is. I think this fly came out awesome. And it's gonna catch a lot of fish. It's definitely gonna get bites anyway. And one leg is still real long. I missed one. Yes, that's better. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. It's a really cool fly, super easy. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna I might make this video part 1 and how I made the bodies part 2. But I mean, here's another one. They're basically the same fly, different colors, different color eyes, but awesome flies. Redfish, bonefish, anything in the shallow waters, inshore, you know, snook, juvenile tarpon, because it's only a size 2 hook. Can't really go chasing the beastly tarpon. But yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and good luck catching. See you on the next video.